Hey, folks, welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast, where we are working with the Florida Blood Bowl group to bring to you another awesome stream, another wonderful stream. We're bringing to you live a podcast slash call-in show with my guest host tonight, John, a.k.a. Solar, Big Benny K, and jumping in the stream right now, my man, James Luft, a.k.a. Beard Jones. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Glad
having
to
us.
be here.
What's up?
Well, I'm glad to be helping out with the technical pieces. This is what I do best. But we got some great minds in this room to talk about Blood Bowl tonight and about what y'all been up to. So I'll let y'all get started with the conversation while I open up that phone line for the folks at home to join us.
Right on.
Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping, I know a couple people are on my hook for calling in. So I have some expectations to hear from a couple different people tonight. So hopefully they don't disappoint.
Lowered expectations.
But I know that, Solar, you wanted to cover some stuff that we didn't get to talk about on the last show, right?
Yeah, I was wanting to talk about long-term contracts for league play, which was introduced in the Blood Bowl 2021 Almanac. It's, as you know, there are star players in Blood Bowl. It's part of some tournaments. A lot of people use them in tournaments. But for people who do not use them in tournaments or do not play in tournaments very much but play league, in general, depending on what team you're playing, you're not going to get access to a star. If you're playing Elves, you're probably never inducing the Swift Twins. So what Games Workshop has done is they introduced long-term contracts, which allows you to draft a star player at the beginning of a league season, and they play on your team for the entire season. And it's a very interesting setup. I like it a lot. My league has used it previously this last season we did, and to great success. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's really cool when you're playing a Dark Elf team and you have the Swift Twins. You give up a lot of inducements because the inducements still count. The star players are free to draft, but they count towards your TV. And that's basically the general gist of it. But it also helps a lot of new people who are playing league and want to branch out in tournaments. If you see somebody playing Griff, you're going to learn how to play against Griff during your leagues, and then you'll be better prepared to play against Griff in tournament format. So that's why I really like it. I like
Is that the 2021 Almanac that we're talking about?
Yes, sir. The 2021 Almanac.
I know there's a new Almanac that just came out, and I have not been able to get my grubby hands on it. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, it's a good one. It has 8 new stars. It's a really awesome. But the
2021 is where the rules are for the contracts.
Yeah, starts in page 125. So
What are some of the cons, right? I mean, my first thought is that you're going to be giving up a lot of SPP to those stars probably, right?
Yeah, that could be an initial con. It depends on what your purpose and how you draft the star into your team. To give you an example, we had a Lizardman guy. He chose the White Dwarf, and the White Dwarf special ability is once per activation, once per team turn, he can basically give a adjacent friendly player a skill. So he was given Saurus's Mighty Blow. One time he gave Skink, I think he gives Sure Feet. I can't remember, but I know he gave either Sure Hands or Sure Feet to a Skink. And he can give out Dauntless. So that was a support star. One of the other options is, like, for example, the Swift Twins. That allows you to field a Wood Elf team without a thrower, because you have Valen, and one completion is really not going to make or break you, to be honest. But yeah, you could get the thing like we had, our favorite, one of my favorite people, Jared Burkett. He played Nurgle, his team, the Wuhan clan. He took Hackflam. So he was scoring no touchdowns on his players. All his SPP came from MVPs and casualties, and all his touchdowns came from Hackflam. So yeah, that is a con, but that's up to the individual coach on how they want to play out their team.
Right, because I'm on page 128, and it talks about they don't gain any star player points to be used.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I found my leagues, and I'm newer than y'all, right? I'm 2 leagues in. But, man, I really struggled to develop teams in those leagues.
Yes.
to develop players in those leagues to be able to be competitive when we got to the end. And I can't imagine just heat sinking away SPP to a star just to get some, upfront good player, right? Getting to the
Right.
playoffs, I need like I need the floor to come up.
Well,
The
to give
ceiling will
you-
be high.
Exactly.
I need everyone to kind of come up a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Well, to give you another example, I played Old World Alliance, and my star was Deep Root. So literally, I was developed with my team. Deep Root just stayed on the line and held the line against like the garbage that Flings bring with all their like Treeman, Morg, and all that other cool stuff. The other, so it really depends on if you use your star as a support. There's two ways to play it. You can use your star to support your team, or you could use it to do everything. Like one guy ran Halflings, he just ran Griff, and it was basically Griff getting everything. Halflings just basically were speed bumps for Griff, and that's how he actually went all the way to the finals with that setup.
Good.
So it basically there's two ways to do it. There is a disadvantage. You can have your star hog everything, or you could just use it as a support piece. But it still teaches people how stars interact, which I think is a really cool pro.
Do
But
you
there is
find
a
it
con.
to be like an arms race, though? Like if you are the player that does not have a star roster, you're going to have a significant disadvantage.
So, yeah, like they have something, they address that in the book. If your star can't die, the worst they can do is be missed next game. But like, so let's say you lose Deeper or lose Morg, you lose 380,000. Well, you're getting your opponent, you're getting 380 roughly free TV, depending on who you're playing. Like, so the TV, the inducement balance is still there. But yeah, your star does not die. They will come back. Worst injury they can have is miss next game. So you will never be down.
So is there still, you could just theoretically not take a star and take the option to always get kind of like an inducement, right? Theoretically.
And theoretically, if your league commissioners want to do that, I guess you could do that. According to the way the rules here are looking, that it's just everybody drafts a star and it's random. So basically, like if you're a new team, all the new teams draft their stars randomly, like pull a name out of the hat and keep going. If you're a team that has decided to carry over, you pick after the new teams in order on how well you did. So let's say there was 5 people who carried their teams over. One guy won, one guy was bottom. The bottom guy would pick, and it would go in that order. But new teams are totally random.
So the random based on the stars that are normally allowed for inducements, or could I get like somebody who just is totally nuts for my team?
Right,
So
that isn't allowed for your team.
it's allowed for your team. So like if you're playing favored of like Chaos, you can only get favored of stars. In the rare event that, let's just say there's like 10 elf teams, there's not 10, even with stars that are available to everybody. Let's say there's no star options for your team, your elf team, because everybody took every star player available for Elven Kingdoms.
Okay, so we're not randomizing the star player. We're
randomizing
randomizing the
coach,
team
and
that
then they
gets to
draft
pick
it.
a star
Yes.
player that is eligible for their. Big Benny K and I we're on the wrong page.
Yeah.
We got it now.
You are drafting the team. The coach gets it's like a NFL star player draft,
Yeah.
or a rookie draft. But it's interesting. But let's just say hypothetically you lost everybody. You had nobody for elves to pick. Then you
Right.
could pick a star that's outside someone who could play Elven Kingdom. So in theory, you could pick something from like Cheney, for example, if there was no options at all and he was still available to pick. So, like I said, it's really interesting. It's not. And then on the other big thing is unsigned star players are the only ones that could be induced. So if Ben induced Morgenthorg, no one else in the league could take Morgenthorg because he's playing for Ben. So
Okay.
yeah, some people don't like it because some people hate stars. We have found through playing that it's been a lot of fun, and didn't cause a lot of headache and concern. It was a all around hit for about the 21 people that we had signed up last season. So we're doing it again.
I'd try it. It sounds cool.
Yeah, it's neat. But if you're the type who hates star players, you're not going to probably enjoy it. Let's put it that way.
I think stars have become part of the game at this point so much in this latest edition. It's almost unavoidable. My thing is I like to see diversity of stars, and I think what you're talking about would lead to that a little bit more because only two people can have Morg, Hack, Fleming, Griff.
Exactly.
So you'd have to see some diversity out there for the little guys that we don't always see.
That's a valid point because one of the we talked about negatives, right? And for me, it was the idea, oh, great. It feels like when you go to a tournament and everybody's got star players, but you're right. Everybody comes up with the same star players. If we played a 16-man league, 16-team league, there are going to be 16 different star players. We're going to be able to see them all. That is cool.
We had some really cool stuff. We had a guy, last season, we had an Orc team with Black Gobbo. We had a Lizardman team with White Dwarf. We had, we obviously had your Halfling with Griff, your Dwarves with Morg, but we had Old World Alliance with Deeproot. We had Hackflam. We had, and some of the lesser known stars. The Elven team, we had the Swift Twins, which you would never see. It's really interesting. Like I said, and there's a YouTube comment here. How's that work for New Start League? Like I said earlier, what happens is it depends on how you run your star. If you use your star to do everything, you're not going to have any SPP. But if you use them to support, you can help boost your team. Like with the White Dwarf, for example, he gives you Mighty Blow. He gives you something to help generate SPP. That's how the guy with the lizard generated the SPP chain with the Saurus, because he was getting casualties with that extra hit with the Mighty Blow and everything. We actually had a Skaven team with Creek. He took Creek because someone took Hackflam, and he had the issue of Creek getting ejected because he kept scoring so much. Like I think he scored 5-0 on somebody. And so Creek was out after like the second touchdown. And so there's a lot of cool options, and just seeing the star player diversity is really neat. You would never see certain stars. Like we had a Snotland team with Acorn, and that was hilarious. And it's just a lot of fun, and the elimination of that team, that
I don't know,
playing on your team.
I'm throwing this out there, right?
Yeah,
because I'm all about the new player, helping the new player out. Being able to keep your contracted star player from season to season, that could get a little OP, especially for folks who got drafted early, pick something real good that combos with their team.
Right.
But like a reverse snake based on where you placed. Almost how in the NFL, the worst team gets to draft first. Like all the star players are back up for draft, and the worst team gets to pick first all the way to the best team, whoever won the
I didn't explain it right. That actually is how it works, because when you at the end of the season, your star player, you lose them.
They go away.
You go away. So next season, like if you happen to be able to redraft the same star, let's say I brought my Old World Alliance again, and then I was able to get Deeproot again on the rare circumstance I could, they lose the loner trait because they're used to working for your team, but that's not guaranteed. Like someone who took Griff, he's probably not going to get Griff again. If he carries over, he can't, because the new teams will get to pick before him. So it would be very difficult to get Griff twice.
I like it.
On the same team. So yeah,
that can help those newer players or new teams that don't have the skill points from last season to just get little bit of a leg up.
Yeah, it actually the new teams get the first picks, which is a built-in balance thing on there. I'll
remind the folks at home, if you're not watching the banner down there, the phone line is open. 813-618-7099 is the number. I know you got our beautiful 4 smiling faces here on the screen, but we're doing this to talk to you about what you got going on, Blood Bowl. This is the Florida Blood Bowl group, the podcast, the call-in show. Call in.
Yeah, but that's essentially all I had about long-term. It's only a few pages in the almanac. If there was any other questions, I could probably answer them because we used them. It went pretty great success. Everybody really enjoyed the star players.
I definitely would try it. I like the idea. There are some stars that come to mind for me that I don't get to use very often. Glorielle would be really cool.
Yes.
On a Dark Elf team, because you already have people that are good for catching, and Dark Elves don't pass. So now you've got somebody who can kind of feed them the ball.
Exactly.
There would be some really cool combos I think you could make and make it work. But when you think about it, when scoring with SPP and everything like that, it does change the dynamic of a star. They're not just the score machine that they are in a tournament,
Exactly. So it makes you, because you don't want to depend, like I said, if you want to have the star do everything you can, but your team doesn't develop. Like I'm going to be playing vampires this next season. I'm hoping to draft Gretchen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's going to be.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition for her. So
no, not everybody wants Wilhelm. So
All right, we got a call coming in. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Barry from Tampa.
Hello, Barry. Welcome to the show. We got Solar, Big Benny K, and Beer Jones with us. What you got going on?
Just looking forward to the tournament in Gainesville tomorrow.
That's going to be awesome.
Well,
there's 30 plus players already on the list for it.
It's nuts. I'm trying to get Blackie to call in a little bit later on to talk about it because this is his first tournament and he's going to have a crazy turnout for it. I mean, it's not obviously he's been around the block with a lot of tournaments, but this is the first that he's ran. So I think it's going to be a big success.
I do too. And then there's the end of the year party afterwards.
So there's a lot of interesting, the Voodoo Awards, and we have some interesting people on that list too. And I think there'll be some good announcements there.
So I'm ready tomorrow to do everything I can to change my luck from hopefully ward off Nephil. I'm bringing a dice cup, a dice tray, a dice tower, and my dice spinner. Between all of those options, one of them should work.
It's your lack of commitment that is your error. You've got to pick one and roll with it. Let that bell curve play itself out. Every time you swap a method, you're back to the bottom of the bell curve. Just saying. Just my opinion.
I concur with Carlos.
So, Barry, I got one for you because of dice superstitions, and I have a fascination with them. I have heard that you should never roll a dice alone. That is interesting when it comes to one die blocks and when you just need to roll one dice. So I actually
So you're saying with like a one die block, throw in a D6 in there as well,
right?
Even though the D6 doesn't matter.
Dice. And I'm going to give you one tomorrow. I'll bring a blank dice along, and you can try that theory out and see if that brings you, because it won't confuse your opponent. I've had people that do it, and they put another dice in there, and it's confusing. But if it's a blank dice, there'll be no confusion, and that might do that superstition proper. And if you end up doing well, you know that works for you.
Hey Barry, grab one of your championship regional dice, one of those X-wing dice, and just throw that bad boy in there. Like it has nothing to do with Blood Bowl, but they won't be alone.
I don't have any X-Wing dice anymore. I sold them all when I sold all my X-Wing stuff.
You got to keep some of them, man. You just can't. All right, there you go. You purged it all. But no, I like the idea. Just some random dice, not by themselves, and they won't be lonely.
Or something. Yeah,
all right.
I don't know. It could be
a D20, a D&D D20.
All right, I'm willing to try that. So I will take the blank die tomorrow and add it to any one roll dice and see if that helps.
See, I was big on rolling all my dice at once, but some people didn't like that. Like I would roll my block dice with 2 big D6s as my armor and then 2 little D6s as my casualty. And I just did it as one slam. Bomb, everything, bomb. All right, so if I blocked and thus knocked him down, this is what the armor roll is, and that is what the casualty result is, all in one. And some people didn't like that. Like that was too much going on at one time. I was just trying to find ways to speed the game up.
The problem with that is you see the rolls that you miss, So like I got all pushes, but I rolled 2 12s. And I'm like, what have I done?
Yeah, I have to agree with Ben. I don't think I would want to put myself through that. Be like, well, there's 2 12s I'll never see again.
Yeah.
You burn out the bell curve. You burn out your bell curve, and you're just stuck on the double ones the rest of the game.
But
I
as
do
far as
think that
Blood
luck
Bowl
might be
goes,
like
I'm really.
Go ahead, Barry.
As far as Blood Bowl goes, I'm really looking forward to this tournament tomorrow. Because it's going to be always rainy, and if the weather changes, it's going to be like the hurricane setting, I think.
Yeah, there's a rule too. If you have a guy with sure hands, it negates the rain. I brought 0 sure hands players along with me, so we're gonna have an interesting time.
Well, originally when trying to build for this tournament, I was trying to force sure hands into teams that don't have it, and I went, wait, why don't I play humans? Both their throwers already have it, and I think I have a pretty solid build for tomorrow.
Nice.
Sometimes the easiest answer, the simplest answer, is the best answer.
Yeah, so instead of trying to force it, I'm like, both throwers have it.
All right, did you go
That
ogre?
takes care of I went ogre and I went deep root.
Now, any halflings in there to throw around now that the throwing rules have been improved?
3 halflings.
A lot of fodder.
Oh, all right.
Pew,
I went-
pew.
I went no catchers because I went 3 halflings, and in a practice game with Josh last week, I was able to score a first turn touchdown.
Wow.
Because deep root is a better thrower than the ogre is.
Humans have great blitzers. You get 4 of them, and the linemen are okay. I don't know, man. It sounds solid. I don't like the catchers much either myself. They're just not quite good enough. But I don't
Squishy.
Yeah,
Squishy.
squishy. They're gutter runners without the agility. It's like,
I kind of figured if I was going to have strength 2 pieces, I'd rather have strength 2 pieces that have stunty.
Yeah, that stunty it just feels good.
So
Stunny is my
like I
bane.
said, I think I
have
think I
so
built
many
a solid
difficulties.
list, and I think between the ogre and deep root, I'll have enough bash if I need it. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, and with those stunty players just moving around and getting into assist positions, that's what I love about the stunty. It isn't so much about them moving the ball or anything. It's just putting them where I want them. Like they can just, they're just going to dodge around with that stunty and put them to assist and, really, really just have fun. Wish you the best, Barry.
That was all I wanted to call and say. Looking forward to tomorrow, and I'll see you
Looking forward to
guys
seeing you again.
there.
We haven't seen you in a while, so I'm glad to see you.
Well, thank you, Barry, for being the first one to call in to show the people at home what this show is about, the caller. So thank you, Barry, for teaching the folks at home about how to call in. Have a good night, homie.
You're welcome. Bye.
Some
All right.
charlatan in the comments mentioned that dwarf runners have sure hands, and
I don't think so.
they do. I just hate dwarves. So.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. A lot of people hate dwarves. I'm one of them. You
That's
would,
a
play
forgettable.
them.
That's right. They don't have block.
So
Dwarves are just good. They're just very good, and I think the runner is what really makes them. The blitzer you can almost do without, but the runner is really something. So.
If you can get them block early,
the good old
get them to be more survivable.
the good old Steve Grahowski basically said the trick for tomorrow will be to ignore the ball. So just build a chaos team with, claw, mighty blow, and just clear. That's what you got to do. That's how it rolls.
Nelson says, "Guess what I'm playing tomorrow." Anybody got
no.
any guesses?
Underworld.
I mean, now that he's mentioned,
Denizens.
when we're talking about dwarves, I'm thinking dwarves, but
Or Chaos Dwarves with Hackflem.
he likes his chaos dwarves. I know that. I'm bringing halflings, so I'm just I'm just.
Does anyone know who Deuce Dwarf is on YouTube?
No, but
they've commented before, and I'm talking about months ago as well.
Oh.
Do we know who Deuce Dwarf is? I love dwarves, they say.
I would call in.
Hey, Deuce Dwarf, call in or comment below. Who are you?
Yeah, you give us a talking to about dwarves.
Let us know who you are.
I don't know you. I'm sorry.
So what are the rules for tomorrow's tournament?
So there's the weather's always.
You know what? Never mind. We got a phone call coming in.
Oh, there we go.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Carlos, this is Deuce Dwarf, a.k.a. Robert Eddy.
Robert Eddy. Welcome to the show. Deuce Dwarf. Where are you out of?
Welcome.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Representing. We're getting international, boys. National.
What do you got on your mind, my friend?
Oh, nothing lately. Getting ready for the tournament here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina in March that Benny's putting on. But they're waiting to do some traveling this summer. So hoping to hit Florida, in particular Ocala, at some tournament sometime in the future.
Gentlemen, any tournaments coming up in Ocala? Maybe you can time that up.
Well, yeah. You know, we've got the Blood Orange Bowl coming up. I believe that's in March or February, or I'd have to look again, but that's in Ocala.
February.
And there are. When did you say you're going to come visit?
Sometime soon. You know, my parents are basically south of Ocala in Lady Lake, Florida. So I always try to schedule to come down there during a tournament, but it's like every time I come down there, you guys have never had one in that area.
Well, you give us enough advance notice, and we might be able to throw something small together in that time. There are two great shops out there. There's Bearded Brown Coat, which they are doing a league right now that I'm part of. And then there's also Warp Fire Miniatures, which is going to be starting a league in the near future. And both
Two great stores. Two very good stores.
Yeah, absolutely. So even if you just give us some heads up, I'm sure we can get a couple games together for you at least.
So I play dwarves. You know, anyone that has seen the NAP ID do dwarves is like, really, Rob? Dwarves again? Yep.
Hey, don't let the hate change you, Bobby. I walked into my first tournament or first season playing dwarves just because that's what I grew up playing in D&D. And then I got a ton of hate because I showed up playing dwarves, and I'm like, you know what? I came back the next season playing dwarves again because it's like it's who I am. Like, don't change who I am. They match me.
So I hate on them, but I actually am. I've run them before, so I'm a hypocrite.
I need to learn.
I've been playing dwarves long enough to where I've actually played against all 26 races, or all 27, including dwarves, in a span of like 80 games. So I play a lot of dwarves. I went to a lot of tournaments.
We'll make the trip down sometime.
While we got Robert on here,
I was going
to say he's from North Carolina, and today we found out that one of our good friends from North Carolina, Denny Franks, is running his first Blood Bowl tournament as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're super excited about that.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll get some of our guys up that way.
The same guy, same time as the Tennessee and Mississippi or whatever tournament. So
yeah, the Z Cheese Open that Matt Paring is going to be running for Tennessee.
Well, this one's like a Slanesh themed Blood Bowl tournament. So
Nice.
then he's going to print off a special character. So.
All right, so you got a tournament coming up as well, right? Is that what I heard you say, Robert? You got a tournament coming? Is this weekend?
No, March 18th.
March. So you're planning ahead. You are definitely planning ahead. Okay. As we continue to do this and you start to refine that list and get the rules packet down, we would love to hear you call in and talk about the rules packet that they're setting up and how it impacted the roster that you created for that March tournament. So please be back, join back in, call in again, and share that with us.
Oh, I will do that, and then the Ohio tournament in April, going to that. So we'll definitely call in. You guys are in Florida, and I'm definitely going to try to get down there this year for a couple tournaments. So you're going to see. I need to take Doombeard's title of most casualties of tournament. So I want that trophy.
Wow, it's a little aggressive
With
coming
the
out of
water.
North Carolina. What's in the water up there, bro?
Hey,
That Miami flavor though, that flavor comes strong, bro. You got to come big. You can be throwing threats like that.
oh,
That's
I've
a-
played
that's
against
a
Doombeard
track
numerous
too.
times on the Virginia scene. So we know that Doombeard just wrecks people.
I love it.
He wrecks you while playing his slow jams. He does.
That's awesome.
He beat me in the tournament. He beat me by 1 or 2. The last game is where he racked up the casualties and beat me. But I had him beat at one point for most casualties, and he got it by 2.
He's still not sleeping right, Robert. That is. He's still up at night thinking about it. I love this
I'm
game.
gonna let you guys go,
Thank you,
so-
Bobby. I really
Let's
appreciate
try
the
to
call.
call
I
in.
really do.
Come
Yeah.
visit us in
and I'm
Florida.
calling again
Thank
for sure.
Thank you. That's cool. North Carolina, not even one of ours, joining in, watching the show, doing what the show says, call in, right? Being a participant. So that's a challenge for y'all Florida folks. Even North Carolina knows how to pick up a phone and dial.
Well, Betzel says he's going to call in just a second. So, and I actually wanted to talk to him a little bit about his tournament that he's got coming up. It's his first one that he's running, and
Well,
I was
let's see. We
gonna-
got a call coming in. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Betzold, and I'm a Florida local.
There we go. Welcome to the show.
How you doing?
I am well. I'm happy to be here. It's Friday night. I've got my Florida Blood Bowl, leader, right? The full-on leader. And it started full. So you can tell I'm halfway through. I'm feeling good.
I like it.
Awesome.
so Betzel, we were just talking about the Blood Orange Bowl in Ocala, and it's going to be your first tournament you're running. And we were going to pick your
Yes.
brain a little bit about the process a tournament organizer would go through to get a tournament built.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, as a first-time tournament, organizer, what would you say is the most important thing to start with?
So my big thing is this is the first, but outside of the Cobalt Cup that we've run the past couple of years, this is the first kind of event that I want to start bringing people over to our side of the state. Because normally us here on the west coast of Florida are traveling a lot over to the east side or, anything like that. We want to bring people over to us for some time. So I wanted to do something that was a little simple that could, get some quick games in, get people to come out for a day, and then they have plenty of time to drive home. With my biggest concern is I just want people to have enough time to come, play, get home safely, and enjoy the event.
So it is a sevens event, right?
That is correct.
And that's why you selected that, because you get to have a little bit more interaction.
No, because he's a smart
Yep.
man and he knows sevens is a great system.
I love sevens.
It's great. I love sevens. Sevens is my favorite way to play Blood Bowl. Fast, quick.
I think it was our first time we met. Was it the one I did?
I believe you were correct.
I always recommend, if you're a new coach, to come out to a sevens tournament for 2 reasons. One, it's a little bit easier to get a hold of. The games go quicker. There's a little bit of a easier learning curve. But the other thing is, you're going to play with maybe 5 or 6 different coaches in that time that you're there, depending on how long the tournament is. But you'll meet a lot of people really quickly in a sevens game. And I just can't recommend it enough. It's kind of like the speed dating of Blood Bowl. You get to see a bunch of different people in front of you and interact with them. As a new player or as a veteran player, it's just a great way to meet people.
Exactly. And that's exactly what my point was going into it, because we've just recently started a local Ocala league where we're playing with some new coaches, and I want to get them to come and get introduced to everybody in the Florida Blood Bowl scene. So I figured seven's like exactly what Ben said, the speed dating of Blood Bowl. You get to see multiple people, especially when we're planning to do 5 rounds. So you're going to get to see 5 different people, see a whole bunch of different teams, hopefully some fun builds. And that's another thing I like about sevens. It just really opens up a lot of diversity to what people will play. It's not going to be the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I think somebody's mentioning Desperate Measures as bad juju. Well, James is, I guess.
He's not even like going to talk in the show about it. He's going to type it into the comments.
I think we had a few people that were very vocal about Desperate Measures in the last tournament. Are you banning these, or is this allowed?
So right now, I don't know if we're going to let them fly, essentially because we do have a lot of new people coming in. I think we want to kind of just focus a little more on just the actual game itself and focusing on just making sure people understand what's going on.
All right, let's
kind of get the game
let's talk to me like I haven't been in the game over the last 9-10 months because I had a kid, which all that is a fact. Tell me about this Desperate Measures thing. Why do I keep hearing it come up? Where'd it come in? What is it? And why all the hate?
Well,
Betzel, John, tell me.
What's up?
Desperate Measures. Where'd it come from? What is it? Why the hate?
So Desperate Measures are from the Death Zone book for Blood Bowl. And unfortunately, I've never actually got a chance to experience playing with them, because every time that we try to play something, I try to just play the normal game as it comes out, but I've personally never had a chance to experience them. So I've only had secondhand experience with what other people have told me.
There's some nasty things in the Desperate Measures which came up during. So I ran a like an icebreaker tournament in Kansas City for the Games Workshop US Open. And I had a couple of coaches ask me point blank, "Are you including Desperate Measures?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're in the Death Zone rules, so yeah, absolutely." And they're like, "Yeah, I'm not playing."
Where is it in the rules? I got my Death Zone out. Is it part of 7 specifically?
It's on page 97. So for
97,
for 50K, 50,000 gold pieces, you could get something like Razzle Dazzle, where one of your players has been practicing hard for the upcoming match. You may play this Desperate Measure when you activate a player. The player may perform 2 actions rather than the usual one. So if you got a gutter runner, you could literally go from coast to coast with 2 activations, dodge through maybe a poorly organized offensive or defensive line, and then score. I've heard some very nasty things about the banana skin. Someone has been snacking on an energy-boosting banana. You may play this Desperate Measure when an opposing player enters the tackle zone of one of your players, and then the opposing player immediately falls over.
Yeah, so someone tries to blitz you, and you just
there's some nasty shenanigans which leave horrible taste in a coach's mouth.
So Desperate Measures is another name for Satan. That's basically.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
the
good when you're the one. It's good when you're the one using it, but when it's used against you, you're a little salty.
Now I understand. Thank you. Thanks for edifying me.
There's about four or five really, really good ones. There's another one that lets you immediately complete a pass, no matter how far the distance and no matter who's throwing it, right? And they automatically catch it. There's another one that's basically just a wizard. And I guess the idea here is that if you're paying 50K and you're getting a wizard, that's a little bit much. So the problem lies in that a lot of the inducements, like star players, are banned in 7s. So a person who's got a cheap team is going to look for ways to spend that extra money, especially teams like Orcs and I don't know, other teams that, you spend that money really quickly and you pretty much have everything you need. And then rerolls are double, so they're almost not worth taking. And instead, Desperate Measure or something like that seems pretty attractive when it's compared to a Bloodweiser keg that costs the same amount, I
mean, it's also random. It's a D8. There's 8 of them. I don't know. Like I said, if you're the one applying the desperate measures, all is well. But when you get hit with one, you're kind of left feeling salty. So I'm just going to say, based off of my experience, it is a part of the game. It is a part of the rules. If you're going to do it, I would just allow one. And I would even, have it be that you get to use it once per match. Like, I think, is that what it is? Once per match? You don't get that back at the half, do you?
Yeah, it's just once per match, but you can take like up to 3 or something crazy like that. It's nuts.
Yeah,
I mean, normally
that's too much.
Yeah, that's much.
That's $150 out of your 600, though, right? We're still talking 600.
Yeah, but if you're playing something like, Underworld, you can kind of afford it.
Yep.
Because.
All right, John, what's the ruling for your tournament? The orange.
The Blood Orange Bowl. We're actually going to go ahead and, like I said, I believe I wrote it in the description there. Right now, we're just going to take out desperate measures. We're going to take out mercenaries. We're going to still allow star players, especially some of the newer ones that come out too, with the new release of this, with the new stuff that just came out. So we're going to allow the new star players and everything. But I just want, like I said, we're going to have a lot of new people at the event, so I want to make sure they get the full, inclusive environment, not so much the like Beard was saying, how it's very salty inducing sometimes.
What's the team budget you're going for?
The team budget, I believe, is going to be 600. I'm going to double check to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's 600.
So I have like controversial opinions on that sometimes where
Sure.
No, because it's interesting. I like 600 because I like to play cheap teams. But teams like Ogres and Wood Elves and others like that sometimes would like to see that 700. Whereas the cheap teams are like, what do we do with all that money? So that's interesting too.
Right.
All right, well,
Yeah,
tell the
like I said,
folks
it's
more about
mostly-
the tournament, what you got going on, John. Get them hyped up about what to expect, or what do you need from us to make that a success for you? Talk to the folks about your tournament.
So absolutely. So this is the first tournament that I've run personally, and it's hopefully going to be the first one of a set that the Nature Coast is going to run. We're going to try to get at least 4 going on our side of the state here. But this is also the first event that we've hosted at Bearded Browncoat. So they seem to really be enjoying us as a Blood Bowl community. They seem really excited to have us, and they're more than happy to give us any amount of space that we need to play. And they've also talked to us about pitching in as well for some prize support for people to play. So to help with the store with some store credit, as well as some actual Blood Bowl product as well.
They're a cool store. They've been very supportive, and they got some interesting stuff in their store too. They got comics and old games and things too. Pretty cool place. So
yeah, absolutely. And they're really big into the tabletop scene. They have a bunch of Warhammer products, paints, everything that you could think of to build your own tabletops as well. Another thing that I really like about them as the store, what they're doing for us when it comes to the actual event. Like I said, they're giving us all the space we need. But they're also, like I said, interested in providing price support and everything. But moving forward to the actual event itself, it's, like I said, basic sevens, 600 PV. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually giving players a skill package. So based off of your tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, you're going to get some different skills. Tier 1, you're going to get 1 skill that has to be a primary. Tier 2 is going to get 2 skills that have to be, which up to one of them can be a secondary. And then tier 3, which I have listed some specific tier 3 additional teams, get 3 skills up to 2, which can be a secondary. But the big kicker that I'm doing here is each team can designate 1 player on their team as a team captain, and that player on the team gains leader. So it's basically going to assist people by giving them that extra reroll instead of it costing double all the time.
Which is probably the most negative player experience for sevens that I've found, is that lack of mitigation of luck, the inability to have enough rerolls to do something. So that's nice. That's great for new players.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what I want. I want to get people to have an experience where it's like, oh, well, I can only afford 1 reroll playing Lizards, if any. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, do the plays that I want to do and not feel comfortable about it. Whereas this kind of gives people that you can take 1 reroll and you have an additional if you need it.
speaking of sevens, Carlos ran a really great sevens event, and I loved. There was a cool rule that you ran in it, the Beans and Dice Bowl, and there was like something about where I think it was stunties could take extra positionals or something like that.
Right. There was a number of additional positionals you could take if you had a stunty team. Did I tie it to stunty or did I tie it to tier? I can't remember anymore. I have to go back and look it up. But it was a way to try to balance it out.
It was interesting because
I think post game it felt a little strong for that stunty side. And I think you played Snots
I think I did
or
Gobos or
Gobos.
something.
Might have been
but-
Gobos.
But some people really took advantage of it because I think it was just that you could have an extra positional as long as the positional was a stunty player. So like a human team could take all 4 normal positionals and then also a halfling. And it was a good idea and I liked it. And I think some teams took advantage of it, but I don't know. It was an interesting
I think it was the
thing.
Underworld Denizen that took advantage of it the best, and that's where
Yeah,
it hurt
bro.
me. Like, man, I did not see that. That's the worst part is when you make a rule to try to help someone else. There's always some jackhole like a Nelson who can find the. Love you, bro.
He's watching. He'll get you.
Who will find the way to use that rule in a way that you didn't expect. And it's like, damn, you're like you suck the joy out of this because you can break it.
But I think the fun of some of the tournaments that we run in Florida are the rule set. I mean, James just ran the Christmas with Cthulhu, which Tom and I had a great time with. Maybe me more than Tom because he didn't do so great. But we theorized because the twist in that tournament was you could trade one player with the other person. So I gave my partner who was playing Necro a thrower from Skaven, and that was nuts, because you don't have one of those on that team. And then he would give me something maybe a little bit meatier that would be able to hold the line a little bit for me. And it worked out so great. Sometimes that one player, just like we were talking about earlier with the star players and being able to get something on your team that you normally don't have, whether it's muscle or the ability to pass or whatever it is, sometimes just getting that little bit there really makes the team just function in a completely different way.
All right. Well, that's all. Let the folks know at home where they can find out more information about your tournament. Make sure that it's full and ready to go. And close them out. Let them know.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody's interested in coming to the Nature Coast Blood Orange Bowl, you can find it on the Florida Blood Bowl page as well as my personal Facebook page. And I do want to say we do have a special prize for first place. That is a custom pitch created by myself to represent the first of hopefully a couple of events on the Nature Coast side that I have personally designed, and I hope everyone likes it. We'll get a little sneak peek here in the future when I have some more finalized results from our manufacturer here, but over with Jacket Maelstrom Gaming Mats. So, but like I said, first place will go ahead and walk away with one of those mats, and I really hope that everyone enjoys it and has a good time. And like I said, I just want to bring as many people over to our side of the state as possible.
I've seen the pitch, and it's pretty cool, and I think people will like it. Very graphically interesting, but also easy to read, and that's a big part for me because I've seen some really cool graphic pitches out there, but they're like super confusing. So this one is really cool looking, but also very easy to read.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to hearing more from you. We thank you for stepping
you
up
very much
and
for having
calling
me.
in, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. I hope everyone has a wonderful night. And again, thank you for having me.
If we don't talk to you again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, folks. Phone lines open, 813-618-7099. We've been talking Blood Bowl 7s. We've been talking Desperate Measures, Blood Orange Bowl, and more phone calls. Beans and Ice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, it's Will Claypool from Largo.
Hello, Will.
What up, Carlos?
Hello, Will.
Everybody? Hey, so I don't know if you all have heard, but I'm just putting the word out there because I'm very excited. So a couple weeks ago, we got the word that Hammerfall was going to have to close, and it was pretty sad for the community. We had, if you all remember, we had that big old tournament at Hammerfall Games. What was it, Knuckles Wild, or the one where the
Papa Nurgle.
There you go,
Papa
Papa
Nurgle.
Nurgle. The one where you couldn't run it. It constantly messed with you. So they closed. Kind of sad. On a good note, it was bought out. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, okay. I thought Ben was saying something. Sorry.
Oh no, it clicked when you said the tournament. I remember Papa Nurgles, and then I also remember walking down the street to get that barbecue, which was awesome.
Yep, and Empanada Brothers, and we got all sorts of good stuff right there. So they're reopening. So starting in January, the store has been open for games. They don't have product right now. They're working on getting their licensing and all that. Scott Lester has bought out the game store. Longtime gamer in the area. He bought the game store. He's got Don, who was the manager of Hammerfall, running it. They're currently rehabbing it, and product will start in January. And I reached out to Jim because I hate leagues. You all know that I'm not a big proponent of them, but I'm going to run one. And then we're going to do some tournaments, and they're all on board.
Nice.
And so we're going to start as a beginner league because a bunch of the guys over here don't necessarily want to deal with all the rules. And that's why I was listening to Solar talk about, the star players and, they kind of break the game. So I wanted to run something by you that I was thinking. And I was thinking of doing a mini exhibition league first. Everybody gets their teams. They get 5, 6 games in. And then you draft something like star players. So that way, let's call it a mini league, 5, 6 games. That way they can get the rules, beginner, you get a basic setup, you get some star player points on your people. And then let's call it preseason for the NFL. And then the star players decide that they want to come over and play. What do y'all think about that?
I think it could be very good.
More Blood Bowl is always better. And
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting. I like drafted star players. It's worked out really well. But that's just me.
I've heard of a concept called progressive leagues or something where you don't lose your character. There's no injuries and there's no SPP. It's just every match you pick a new player to level up.
It's almost like the way Sevens does it with the progression, where it's not SPP points as much as it's pick a player, they upgrade.
Right. And then you can't pick a player that's already got a level until you've got everybody leveled up or something like that. But I've heard of that before. I don't know how I feel about it, but I know for newer players that might be something, because
Armada's doing that in January. I think he's calling it more of a tournament style is the way he's calling it, because with the tournament you reset, no injuries, after each match. So the league will run, I think, 6 weeks is what we're talking about, with no injuries. And I think that's probably one of the more negative player experiences than than the star player points and the drafting. It's the fact that you watched your team get beat up, and then you deal with, and maybe you didn't know, right, how to run that team well enough to not get destroyed. Maybe you shouldn't go in for the 1-die block against the Kroxigor, right? Those are the new player mistakes. And then you're going to pay for that the rest of the season with a broken neck or something, right? On a War Dancer.
Snotlands all online against dwarves,
Right, and let them pound you in the, as the receiving team. They get to pound you on the line. Those mistakes don't hurt you as much if maybe you let them reset their injuries each game.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got one of our guys.
Right. I remember my Wood Elves, when I first played Wood Elves, that completely blew up in my face because I lost both of them. And then I lost the tree. So by game 2, I was down both my dancers and the tree, and I was pissed off. And more or less, I was like, that's it, I'm redrafting. But ever since then for League, I've done nothing but fuzzies. So I'm 100% Goblin, and you better look out because I'm killing everything I can.
And maybe there's a protective spell the first 5-6 games of the league where injuries get healed up, or something like that, where you can protect those newer players from
Yeah,
making
they just
those
hired
mistakes.
the College of Life to help out for first few games.
Yeah, fluff it out. I'm sure we got people that can figure that out.
I like that. Like I said, I don't want to take away all the stuff that makes Blood Bowl, because I got to be honest with you. The first time you lose a big guy or an expensive player, that teaches you
Never
something
forget it.
real quick. It's important, I mean, I don't know, not just like Nuffle. It's one of those things where you learn dice mitigation very quickly.
Something I would like to see in more leagues is incentivizing people to keep injured players. So, your strength busted guy, well, maybe he's worth $20K less now, or something like that. Or, just something like that would make it where you just don't fire them as soon as they get hurt. You kind of hold on to them and see what happens,
Yeah.
What about a healing mechanic? Instead of just incentivizing it, just say after like 3 or 4 games, their doctors perform some miracle or something. That way they don't lose them, but they still have to take that injured player for multiple games.
Yeah, and I like the temporary retirement.
I was going to mention that.
The TR.
It's pretty good. It's just that the sad thing is that, like, let's say I temporarily retire a positional, I can't fill that positional any longer. It takes up a slot still. So if it is one of my 2 war dancers that I've temporarily retired for the last 3 games of the season, I can't get another one. And that rubs me the wrong way a little bit sometimes. But no, I like the idea of let him play it out or let him rest it off or something like that, and make it a little bit more of a forgiving
exhibition games at the beginning where they're not as injured. That lets the newer players ramp up, but then, gets real, right? After game 5, it gets real, and then you got to take it. And I think
Right, that's the other thing.
TJ was talking about drafting.
Warm-up game. Go ahead.
TJ was talking about, Lone Wolf Jackson was talking about a draft setting would be cool for newer players. Make a player pool for your players and have them draft positionals. So that kind of a setting might be a good setting for newer players.
What Don was thinking, and I don't know, I agree and I don't agree. He was thinking just 2 boxes. For the first season, just do a box set purchase, and that's the team that you start with. But you all know, and I know, that not all these boxes are created equal. A dwarf box is going to walk away way better than, say, a goblin box or an box. Just the teams, you're missing pieces. I mean, Skaven, I don't care because they're rats and they deserve to die, but, they only have half their position.
Could you imagine a goblin box, though? 12 goblins? Just nothing but 12.
That's some hard mode right there.
Oof.
You'd have to steer some of those newer
But
coaches
that's
away
what I'm saying.
from 2 or 3.
If you're going to any of your big guys,
Yeah, Lufty's right about that. The mentorship. You know what? I see you looking at that box, but let me walk you over here and let's look at a different box.
Yeah,
Running
let me
halflings with no
introduce you.
trees is no fun. No bueno.
Nope.
But
I
Well,
wonder if
I
there's any
think there
studies.
is. Zach would disagree with that, though.
He's practiced.
He's a big
Yeah.
proponent of snotlings with no big guys.
yeah, no death or no pump wagons, no big guys. Well, he's a little loony, so that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, keeping it simple, stupid is going to be the best way to start a league for anything, because you got to figure new coaches. You don't want to steer anybody away from the game. We've done 7s leagues before, and they're a lot of fun. But depending on how new the coaches are, I mean, learning the mechanics is, and there's a debate. If you have a group of coaches, do you take them in and you show them 7s as a way of introducing them to the game, or do you start them right with 11s? My personal opinion is I'd rather see you play a half of 11s than play a full game of 7s, because I feel like you're learning not just the mechanics are more or less the same between both variants, but I feel like you're getting the hang of the game, because what I'd hate to see happen is somebody learn 7s and then about to have a stroke when they play a 2-3 hour version of 11s, and they're like, oh yeah, this ain't for me. So
I learned the other way around. Me and my buddy that picked up, when we first picked up Blood Bowl, we were just like, 11s it's just too big, for what we wanted to do. So we just said, 7s was a lot easier for us to source miniatures for, and we got a lot more games in quickly. So I respect that as well. I don't think you can go wrong as long as you're playing Blood Bowl, as long as you're not playing Street Bowl. So
I think I'm going to vote, if we're all voting here, as Lufty threw in his pitch, Big Benny K, Solar, we're coming to you in a second. I'm going to say 11's battle box, right? So the beginner, the basic box set, the way you were talking about, I get it. There's going to be some opportunity for imbalance, but if you play Blood Bowl, you just know it's imbalanced, period. And that's a great way to introduce the game, that the factions are different. They are imbalanced. There are some of them you're going to have to learn more. But I think at the dollar, the simplicity of getting a new player in, where all they got to do is buy a starter kit. You can help them out with the rule book. You can help them out with printing out roster sheets, getting the tokens and what they need to run the board. All they had to do was buy that 35, I don't know, inflation, what are we at, $40 now a box set?
It's probably 50.
Ugh. So even more reason to say a starter box league might be the way to go. And then you don't allow introduction of players beyond that battle box set until a certain number of games, maybe.
I wish they put that 2016 box set out just with the same teams, but with updated rules, and either gave you a choice of either doing humans and orcs or Imperial Nobility and Black Orcs, because cool. It's an advanced. The 2020 box, if you're learning for the first time, and I've done this at Gen Con this past year, we had sealed team boxes, and literally for whatever reason, it just at that time, whoever was assembling the teams for GW, there were a lot of Black Orcs in there and a lot of Imperial Nobility, so everybody played those. They came out of the core. Learning those skills on those players while they're trying to learn the mechanics was not always easy. In my opinion, I would have liked to have seen the 2020 box have those basic orcs and basic humans. I think they're just real easy teams to pick up and learn.
We got a guy in our league who started out and he's like, what should I play? And they're like, someone said, a bunch of people had said to him, humans are a great first person, team first.
They're
team.
very forgiving. Yes.
Well, he interpreted that as humans that came with the box set, and so he started playing.
They're not humans.
He said they're humans, and he's been getting beat up quite a bit because it's just a lot to learn. He's a brand new player, so I think there is a lot of that, and people say that with orcs too. They're like, "Oh, orcs, are a great, easy team to play. I guess I'll just play orcs," and they think that black orcs are orcs, but they're
if you're not maximizing that grab skill, you're not playing them right. It's the same as vampires and not using the hypno gaze.
Right. We're all Latinos, but Puerto Ricans and Cubans are not the same.
I agree there. Yeah.
So, Solar, what do you got for Will? What's your answer to
honestly,
his question?
So if we're doing that vote thing, I like sevens. It teaches you the fundamentals of the game, and it's ease of access. So I'm going to go with like what Ben was saying, a lot of the stuff. Also, Lone Wolf Jackson out on YouTube, he agrees with you, Jim, but guys don't want to deal with the rules, so you have to introduce them to sevens and get them hooked that way. And I found sevens introducing people to sevens puts that fish hook in, and then they're like, what do I have to buy now? And but I've done demos with 11s too, but I like the sevens is quick, mainly because there are no rerolls. Really, rerolls costing double. You fail your action, it's done. It makes you also think more with the positioning.
So there's
balance.
Three things in sevens.
Just
right?
three.
And I kind of agree with all of y'all.
Go ahead, Will.
So I agree with sevens because it's fast, right? But if I have to sit there for 5 games, 7 is obviously the game that I'm going to go for. But when you only play 1 game in a week, I'm not sure that sevens is in a 45-minute period that, that's cool. You got a game in, and for a league format, I just
see. But that's the thing with sevens, though, Will. As an X-Wing player, we'd go up on a Thursday night. We get 3 matches in a night. We we'd have 2 or 3 matches in a night because you can get it done in an hour, hour and a half. You didn't feel
Right,
like you only
you run
played
a
one
league.
game.
My thing with sevens would be that you are not locking a new player into a team that they're going to have to grind through. Because if I picked up Blackworks and thinking that they were going to be really fun, and I decide 3 games in that I'm just not into them, at least with sevens, that's going to be over fairly quickly. And with the full 11s, I might get, I might just drop. And I wouldn't personally, but I know a lot of people that do that. And I don't know. There's a lot of good arguments. My other thing with sevens is a lot of those teams that you could just buy a box for can sometimes end up being very playable, depending on what they are. So, and then also there's always guaranteed progression. So even if you're just not doing very well
Yes,
at all,
that is a good point. The new system with that progression, you pick a player or roll a player? I can't remember. But a player progresses every game, and that feels nice. That instant gratification. You don't. There are tournaments where I played 3 matches before I had enough SPP on a player to upgrade them. Significantly upgrade. I could have randomly grabbed something, but I didn't want to do that. Significantly upgrade them. That's a valid point, Ben.
yeah, absolutely. And if you wanted to, you could do best 2 out of 3 even, to make that go longer. Imagine, 2 players getting together to play 2 to 3 games of sevens. It's about the same amount of time as.
Well, there you go, Will. You got the panel jumping in there. Hopefully that helps.
I just love sevens. I can't, I know certain teams dominate right now, like Underworld and Skaven kind of make a mockery of it. But for the most part, it's pretty balanced. I don't know.
Well, somebody said
I like it.
before, as
I'm
long as you're
debating,
playing
I'm
Blood Bowl.
debating maybe using that as the exhibition part and then grow up, because that'll give you a base 7 group that you can then expand on and do the star player draft. Okay, I got ideas. Thanks, y'all. See, this is why we talk.
Are you coming out
I
tomorrow?
will see
Will?
all y'all at Gage of the Park. Yeah, we got the carpool. I'm driving Barry and I'm drawing a blank now. I'm driving the carpool from.
Do we call it the
we're picking
Claypool,
up-
or is it still a carpool?
Mike,
I'll
there we
see
go.
myself out. Bye, y'all.
The dad jokes. We got to have them. We have to have them.
Thank you, Bobby.
Yep,
Great
so we'll
hearing
see
from
y'all
you.
tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, man.
Later.
Will Claypool showing what it's about, calling in. Got about a half hour left in the show, folks. So if you want to get in on the phones, got to be quick.
I was hoping he was going to call in and share the news about that store. When we played out at Hammerfall, they treated us really nice. It was a great space.
I loved it.
a lot of
It was
room.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so
So to
glad. I
see
didn't
a
even know
store
they went
get
down.
Saved. Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, good.
It's good news.
Beans and Dice
So I'm
Podcast. State your
very
name.
happy.
Where
We
you
got-
calling from?
Well, today I was working on the map.
Hey, it's Barry again.
Oh, coming
There's
back for
something I
more.
there was something I wanted to bring up about leagues, and it's something you run into leagues, but you don't run into on tournaments, which is conceding.
Yeah.
Which-
that's a good point.
Because I know people don't like when their opponent concedes, but when you're playing a league game and like 2 of your positionals are missing next game and the first half isn't even over and you're already losing 2-0, there's absolutely no reason in a league that makes sense not to just go, I concede right now.
And I still remember the
Like,
first
it-
time that made sense to me in a game. Like I would have never been that kind of player. I've always looked at conceding is terrible. That's just, you might as well be a Franz, Barry. That's inside. We know who that. I'm not conceding, right? And then you realize, well, I'm really not losing that much, and I'm not going to risk any more injury the rest of this league. So tournament versus league, conceding is a mechanism in the game that you learn.
Like, I will never concede in a tournament, no matter how bad I'm losing, because there's no point. But in a league, there's probably been, I can think of at least 2 games where I conceded because just the first half was going so horrible for me that there was absolutely nothing I could gain by continuing to play.
But if I did continue, I could possibly make my next game so much worse than it was already going to be.
Will
Like
brings
in the
up,
last Armada League. Go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, Will brings up a cool point here because there are, in my opinion, there are three different kinds of concessions. You know, you've got the in-game concession that is necessary and legal by the rules, right? If you can't put, I think it's what, 3 players on the line or whatever, you can concede without penalty.
Right.
There's the in-game concession, and then there's just like the person conceded because they didn't show up, or we had a scheduling problem, or something like that. So league concessions are more complicated, right?
They are. They are.
So I think that's one of the reasons I prefer tournaments over league play, is because if I have one bad game in a tournament, I could shake it off and go to my next game. You have a bad league game, and you could be set up to fail for your next game. Like, league games hurt so much more when you have a bad game than if it's simply, you know, that losing a player or, you know, really hurts so much more in the league than in a tournament. And I've had leagues where it's kind of like halfway through the league, I was just so beat up. I'm like, I didn't even want to finish the league because it was just like, this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, if leagues cause you that much, cause anybody that much, they probably shouldn't play in leagues, unfortunately. If it's going to bother you to the point where you're not going to have fun, your opponent's not going to have fun either if you're not having fun. So it's probably better not to play if that's a situation where if the game is supposed to be fun. If it's not going to be fun, don't participate in that aspect of the game. That's just my opinion on it. Because in the rules there is penalties for conceding in league. Like if you have a developed player, there's a chance that he walks off your team. So not only are you missing those 2 players that you conceded, and then you conceded, you could lose your star player, whoever he may be a catcher with a bunch of touchdowns and stuff. So there is concessions do suck to do unless you you just get trounced and you can't set up. But yeah, if my opinion is if a game causes you a lot of frustration and whatnot, don't participate in that aspect of the game.
That's what keeps making me come back. Like, this is like a bad relationship, me and Blood Bowl. It
So I
is
love
that
it.
frustration that draws me back.
I love fighting from the bottom. And unfortunately, in league, I've done really well in my leagues where I don't have those crippling games, but I have had them in other aspects back in the day when I played Live and Rulebook Blood Bowl. And it was a challenge, but I just stuck through it. But that's part of Blood Bowl to me. Part of Blood Bowl to me is like, hey, my superstar just got his head kicked off. Okay, well, how do I recover from that? But that's just my generic enjoyment of Blood Bowl, is the blood.
I think
Because every time I go,
Go ahead, man.
every time I play with Carlos, I always hear the words, "I hate this game. I'll never play again," come out of his mouth at least once or twice.
Yeah,
I love to hate it.
Hey, I know some people just like that. It's actually pretty awesome.
But then I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it makes me come back every time. Good conversation, Barry. Good topic, Bobby. Glad you called back.
Yep. So bye.
See ya. That was our buddy Barry out of Tampa. And let me comment a little bit on that. I wanted to, my reset, because Solar, you were talking about how to get back to neutral effectively mentally when bad stuff happens. The way I do it is I give myself small goals. Like, all right, so for this next game or this next half, whatever's got me down, this next thing that I'm working on, I'm going to focus on knocking down 2 players. If I can get 2 players knocked down in one turn, I'm going to call that a small win. Right? Like you said, these little mini goals that are going to help you progress in the game. Knowing you're going to lose, knowing things are going to go bad, but you kind of feel like you've achieved something. That's how I reset myself. Now we got a call coming in here. Beans and Dice Podcast, state your name. Where are you calling from?
It's Chris. Happy Hanukkah.
Oh.
Calling
Mr. Nelson, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. I know I call in every week, but I listen to you guys and I want to get involved. So
Thank you.
We want you to call in. We have to have the expert opinion, right?
So has anybody come up with what team I'm playing? I'll give you a hint.
All right.
I don't have sure hands, but the rain won't matter.
You know, big somehow?
Camry, because they don't pick up the ball anyway.
That's true. Camry doesn't.
No, earlier someone said goblin. That's right. I'm bringing the gobos.
Ooh,
Wow,
whoa.
that's gonna be interesting to see.
I look forward. I don't know if I've ever seen you running goblins before, so I look forward to that.
It's been a minute.
Bumber, right? Bumber Dribble Snot's going to come to town.
Oh no! I'm taking Hackle and Scuttle Spike.
Oh no! Well, the ball does matter a little bit.
No,
but I guess
you've got two.
You've got the extra hands, right?
So yeah, baby.
Oh man.
So I'm loving it, right? I got the 2 trolls with guard. I get the chainsaw. I get the ball and chain. I get the fanatic with sneaky git and dirty player. I get the bomber. I have a biased ref, 3 bribes, 5 gobos. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
or bad. It could be bad.
Spectacularly bad.
Yeah. So something on concessions, right? Because I've had a few happen to me. I've almost done one myself, except for Ben talked me back from the brink. For me, out of the 3, right, I totally understand the can't make it. Something came up. It's disappointing, but life happens. I totally get the can't set up because what are you going to do? The concession during the game midway when the team is hurting, I can totally understand the viewpoint of the player. The problem for me is that in a league, you set that time aside for the week and you look forward to it all week. And then a few bad dice rolls later and your evening is over and the other plans you could have made are done and you have to drive home. And it sucks.
So if I may I give you an example? I played a couple leagues ago. It was the last game before the finals. My orc team, every biggin had block, mighty blow, guard. It was like a devastating team. I played against a nobility guy who did not have a chance to make the playoffs. So he had a whole bunch of treasury. So he had a whole bunch of inducements. So he spent his treasury, cleared his treasury out. He hired 3 mercenaries. He had a star player, everything. The game did not go well for this person. Like the first block was like a mighty blow +2 merc rolling double skulls, can't loan her out of it, and he gets casualtied out. So literally by turn 4, I have casualtied 7 players and I score. He concedes on turn 4 first half. So it's a very negative effect, not only for me because I didn't get extra SPP, but he didn't do anything to my team. So I'm going into the playoffs with an untouched orc team. And the other guy that I was going to play, his Amazons got beat up by dwarves. So by not only are you conceding, you're not doing any damage to your opponent and causing some, there's no counterbalance to it. So in addition to the night being over, you've basically done nothing for your opponent's future games as well as your future games. So anyway, I just wanted to use that as an example. And it's very important because, I went into playoffs with an untouched orc team. So do the math there. So
yeah. Players are pulling for you to at least like foul somebody, take that star out for the playoffs, and they don't. And it's like, I don't know. I can see both sides, right? Because I've been on that side where it's like, well, what am I going to do now? It's 7:30, and I already told my other friend that I can't do anything. But being on the other side, I can also understand why would you finish a game that you can't possibly. Well,
it's not the winning. Like the winning for me doesn't make the decision on the concession. It's if I'm up against that bashy team and I've got my Norse kind of glass jawed, and all I'm doing is feeding you cash after cash after cash, knowing that I'm risking losing some skilled up players because I don't have the ability to really set up a a defense to protect them from getting 2-die, 3-die rolled against them. To me, it's not the loss that concerns me. It's that long-term 4 games left in the season, not going to have the players I need that concerns me. And if you're playing that bashy, I'm going for most cash this season, I see the bloodlust in your eyes, and I'm like, I'm tapping.
Yeah. And I can understand that. There's some ways to mitigate. It's difficult, but if you're not in base to base with people, they're only getting 1 hit a turn. I mean, granted, like your Norse, I mean, you have a 3+, you have an average dodge. So, but that would be something I would do if I had to play that defensively, where I'm going to give, I'll use Doombeard. I'm going to give Doombeard 1 blitz a turn. Okay, so yeah, that might cause some issues, but it's not like I'm going to give Doombeard my whole team to hit. So that, I mean, that's partly on the coach on how to play too. But I definitely understand the sentiment because you don't want to lose your players. That's, I mean, you kind of grow attached to them. That's the RPG element of Blood Bowl. I started, one of my first league was Goblins, so I was used to not having anybody last more than 2 games. So I was inoculated quick. And there's beautiful girls here apparently on YouTube.
I played Skaven in one of my first leagues too. And what I found, and it's been true ever since, is that the Skaven team that starts the league is not the Skaven team that wins the playoffs. All new players.
But nobody feels bad for Skaven, though, unfortunately. So. But yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I got to do some bribe management. I don't know. I don't play Goblins much, but the roster looked so good that I couldn't pass it up. I built a human roster, a Norse roster, some other rosters, and I said, you know what? It's for fun anyway. It doesn't count for this year. Why not?
I did Stunty as well, so I think we'll be competing in the Stunty realm. And
you know what the other team is that actually looked good was Snotling.
Some pump wagons.
Yeah, they get the full team. They get the star player as well. They get the bribes. It gets nasty over there on Snotling. So I would not be surprised to see Howard show up with the Snotling team and probably pull off the same thing he did last time. Go top table with him.
Well, Puggy's back, so I needed to celebrate that.
Good old bacon breath.
So I took Puggy. I think that'll be interesting. I think he's an underlooked star, and I think we'll see him more in the future because that blitzing into a cage with a stunty player that has 3 strength and block could be pretty interesting. So,
oh, you're right. You're right. Hey, does the one on the Ram? What's his name? The halfling on the Ram?
On the Stoltz?
Rumbelow.
Rumble.
Yeah.
Does Rumbelow have dodge?
He does not.
No dodge. No dodge.
He has block and tackle.
Okay.
And horns.
Yeah, bummer. Whatever. But yeah, Puggy. Good to see Puggy back, and some of the other star players too. Like, been a minute. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about like Wither Drool Grasp or whatever he's called.
Wither Grasp Double Drool.
Yeah, like I don't
These
know.
names.
It's like the Beast Man with like tentacles and extra arms. I don't know.
I actually like Cindy Pie Whistle. I like another.
Oh, everybody loves Cindy. Cindy's Bama, but for all the old world teams. So everybody can have bombs now.
Yeah, so now you can have like a Verdun on Blood Bowl pitch.
Yeah. I'm not so excited to see Cindy and Bama just because they're so good and easy to take.
It's funny. I think if you play Ogre, you could get access. You could get both of them for 100K.
But you're playing Ogre.
Yes, you are playing Ogre.
Hey. Josh does it. Josh does it well.
Bad. Ogres aren't bad once you get the hang of them.
I tell you, I get destroyed by stunning teams more than any other team I play against for some reason. I just have this curse. I can't defeat stunning. So they cause terror any type.
TKC3, and I had my Necro team with Wilhelm Chaney. So it was just 3 werewolves running around, like dream team. And I go up against Josh Wojcik round 1, and he's got ogres, and I'm like, boy, like this is over, right? And he demolishes me 1-0, and I was like, oh, I freaking hate ogres. Hate ogres. He's a great ogre coach, man.
It's all that mighty blow, man. All that mighty blow is nuts.
Yeah.
As long as you don't bonehead.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That's
but,
the key. Just roll better.
yeah, I mean, clearly. That's the way.
It's
Just,
easy.
Get gooder.
yeah.
It's easy. Just roll better, dude. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate you.
Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate
See you
you.
tomorrow.
I probably got time for one more call before we wrap this thing up. So if you want in, make sure you get that call in.
I am
Let's,
excited for tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. So
Hit them up, gentlemen, with the last bit of news in hopes that somebody does call in to extend it. But let them know what you got going on, what they can expect from Florida Blood Bowl.
Well, hopefully we've got our new issue of the zine coming out tomorrow. And that'll have some interesting information about some stuff that's going on in the future, plus all of our Voodoo winners after they're announced, of course. Yeah, it's a nice wrap up. I always like the Voodoo series because you kind of get to look back on the year and remember some of the different events we went to and some of the different, different exciting people and things that we saw.
We've got a call coming in. That's awesome. I say call and people do. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name, where you're calling from.
Hey, what's going on, man? This is Lone Wolf from Colorado.
Our man, TJ Jackson.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, how's it going?
Speaking of the dirty rat,
just
loving them
wanted to-
Skaven, what's going on?
Yes. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on something. So I just got back from attorney last week, participating in the Stunty tourney the week before, and seeing a lot of Stunty tourneys pop up in the U.S. I feel like we're, as TOs, I feel like we're over supporting the Stunties. Like my last 2 tournaments combined, we had over 20 Stunty teams. And this is not from coaches who are Stunty coaches, but people that are smart enough to see the rule set and say, we're basically unstoppable if we do this. Like, I'll give you an example. I ended up playing against a Snotling team with 2 trolls, 2 pump wagons, 2 bribes, 2 bombers, star player, and Hackflim, plus a special ringer. And I came in with my Necro team, and I was like, I'm so outgunned, I have to play perfect to even have a chance at a tie. I just want to get you guys' opinion. It feels like we're wanting to make Stunties relevant, but I feel like we're also over supporting them.
So I feel like, and I'm not a super Stunty coach, maybe Ben can comment a little bit more intelligently than I am, but I feel like since 2016, the big change, like from 2016 rules to 2020, has kind of benefited Stunty more than it has in the past. And so you see a lot of people, especially where the inducements work, even though they kind of changed it back now, it just seems like maybe the rule set does benefit. But that's also because I think star players are so good now that you can – the only people who can really take advantage of these superstars relatively easy is Stunty teams because they have the TV to do it.
Yeah, I can't really put my finger on what made Stunty better necessarily because Throw Teammate got worse and some of the other little things got worse. But yeah, I do agree they got overalls. For some reason, they're just more playable now. I think tiers is for tournaments. I think tiering is not necessary in my opinion. I think if you choose to play a team that's a little bit harder, that that's your choice more or less. But I don't know. I think tier 2 gets washed away. I think there are teams that need help that aren't stunty. Slan, Vampire,
Right.
Old World Alliance. Some of those need that help.
Chaos.
They don't get it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's
That's
hard from a
good
TO perspective, I think. It's really hard to strike a
Yeah.
balance. But I definitely there's something that did change, and I'm thinking it's mainly star players got cheaper, and the only ones that can really afford it in the rules packs are stunty teams. Like Halflings
Yeah, I mean,
with
yeah,
Morgan Deeper, it's pretty good.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. But I've also spoken to TOs after the tourney, and they're like, you know what? I feel like I've overstepped the boundaries as far as wanting to get stunties relevant, because, like I said, over half of the coaches at the tournament are playing stunties, including people who have never touched them. So
Yeah.
I think
It's
there needs to be
what
some
we
more
call
restraint.
net decking, right? So they go online and they
exactly.
see some cool list,
Yeah.
or someone did well with the stunty here. I'm gonna copy that.
Precisely. Yeah.
They're metagamers. They're going to look for the best possible scenario for that rule set, like you said earlier. So trying to balance an imbalanced game isn't always the best way to go. Like, Josh Wojcik played stunties before stunties became really popular, and he was killing it, winning tournaments like Stunty Cups because he's really good at it. That's like you guys said, playing it on hard mode. If you want to play a challenge, then you play stunties. If you want to play it safe, you play tier 1. If you want to kind of, play middle of the road there, you play tier 2. But I don't necessarily agree with TOs creating rule sets that are going to favor stunties because they feel like they need some kind of lift up. They don't. They're with the 2020 rules. They're so cheap now that they're the only teams that can afford 2-star players if you let them. And when you have Deeproot and Morg or Morgan Griff or, Griffin Deeproot, whatever on a team, you're going to see those teams come in first place. That's why, and now you're starting to see, like with the NAF rule set, with the end of the year review, they're starting to let TOs now manipulate the rule sets with the star players, but they're just going to get tagged as specialist Blood Bowl tournaments rather than standard Blood Bowl tournaments, which affect the statistics. I think just the rules in and of themselves. Don't forget, at the end of the day, the rules that GW publishes, in my opinion, are geared towards more people playing more things. They're going to give all the teams all the buffs, in my opinion, to try and make them all playable, where in reality, they shouldn't be. If you want a challenge, play that tier 3 team. But I don't agree with giving tier 3s or stunties all the buffs. And I love playing stunties. I'm a halfling coach at heart. That's my jam, literally. And my biscuits and my gravy and my mashed potatoes. But
we go into Cracker Barrel after this.
But
James, would you say it's kind of a leftover feeling from the 2016 rule set, right? The feeling of needing to help stunties.
I think where it's coming from is like I said, they're making a game. They don't look at it from the tournament perspective, or they don't look at it from a metagamer perspective. They're looking at it like, in my opinion, they want to create a product to sell it.
I'm talking about the TOs.
Right.
The TOs writing the rule sets.
The TOs.
Like it's a leftover feeling from the 2016 rule sets of, wow, stunties were so bad, so hard to play. I got to give them a leg up.
No, because to me, there was a tonal shift in the way tournaments were being set up, where before it was you have a monetary build and you got X amount of money either included in the overall team value, or like, let's just say a TV of 1.1, and then you got 200K for skills. And that was across all tiers. So that isn't going to favor anybody. But then you started seeing with the 2020 box that they came out with star player points, you started seeing tournaments where tier 1's going to get 42 star player points. Tier 2 is going to get 50. Tier 3 is going to get 100. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's where you started seeing it where, all right, well, we got to buff these tier 3s and give them more player points. No, you don't. I actually kind of start looking at all the tournaments we ran this year, and a lot of the rule sets started leaning towards star player points by tier. I think if you want to see, you know, a better, more varied, like where it's based off of how good you are as a coach, just do flat team value and flat gold, star player points for any tier.
I agree with that, and that's why I'm a little disappointed to see the World Cup rules, because they are just, I don't know, it's a little nuts in my opinion. The World Cup rules are just all over the place. I mean, we're stuck with them, but I will probably bring halflings to the World Cup if I end up on a team where I can do that. So I don't know. Take that as
at the end of the day.
No, it's funny you said that.
Go ahead, TJ.
Go ahead, TJ. It's funny you said that, Ben, because I was also going to say the same thing. I was going to transition to that. It's funny. One of the strongest rosters out there for the World Cup is the Snotling roster with 2-star players, and you get like 2 skills. And I was talking to a TO, he's a figurehead in the community. He was like, no, Snotlings aren't competitive. I'm like, dude, if you really sit down and break down the World Cup rule set, it's real. The value is in the stunties, and I know people are going to bring that roster for sure.
Well, let's see what Nelson does with his roster tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Ironically, goblins are the weakest of the stunty teams, so we'll see how it really goes. But because all the extra costs they have with their special players and everything like that. But definitely Snotlings, I think, are the strongest of the stunty teams by far.
Yeah, I think in the Savannah Bowl, they're not even classified in the bottom tier. They're
actually Nurgle's in bottom tier in Savannah Bowl.
When that rule set was put together, Fabian looked at all of the team data from the last year to look and see what races fell in what categories, and that's why it looks a bit odd when you look at those tiers for the first time, but that's based off of all historical game data.
Yeah,
so
that's cool. I saw Savannah Bowl rule set. I wish I could have joined a team, and I'm not able to go, unfortunately. But I really would have liked to, because that rule set looked really awesome to me.
There's still time.
No.
All those viewers out there, they need to put together some teams. I know we got some people in other states. They need to put together some teams and come play with us.
We got 12 teams. We can accommodate 4 more, and that's it.
That would be. I mean, I would love to see a full day of that, because that would be awesome.
It would be awesome.
So TJ, get your guys together.
Assemble your crew.
Yeah, I should. It's so close to LVO, and then I got work in both day and night class. I can't take the time off for it, but I would have loved to go though.
That's the thing. There's a lot of Blood Bowl all around the United States. But the thing with Florida Blood Bowl, man, is there's always more Florida Blood Bowl. So if you miss one, there's always opportunity to hit another one. But going back to what you were saying before about the coaches who are probably going to be taking those tier 3 stunty teams, it comes down to 2 things. And it's how you want to play. Do you want to play as a coach who's out to manipulate those rule sets and take the best team forward, or do you want to play what the hell you want to play? And I give a lot more credit to the coaches who are like, I don't give a shit what the rule set is. I want to play vampires because I think vampires are cool. Or I have a really awesome painted Necro team, and I'm going to take that no matter what the rule set is. And when I see them succeed and do really well, that's when I'm like, yeah, man, high five.
Yeah, same. But the problem is, and you know this as well as I do, the community, it's a great community, but it's full of meta gamers. It's full of power gamers. Some people use Blood Bowl to validate their life status. So it's
Listen, I'm feeling personally attacked right now. I feel personally attacked.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to ask TJ.
You're not the only one. I was aiming at.
That runs rampant in 40K. Blood Bowl, you got a few guys who are like that, here and there and around the square. But for the most part, the Blood Bowl community is nowhere near like the 40K is with the level of competitiveness.
No.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
agree
but
with
the
that.
only reason that is, yeah.
Why is it?
Go ahead, Ben.
No, TJ, I want to hear from you. What do you say? What was that?
Okay. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. The only reason why it's not as bad as it is in 40K is because of the money.
That's
Right?
exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
I tell people all the time. Yes.
$40K for a.
Yeah. So you know, I tell guys at work that I play Blood Bowl and I travel and all this. Their first question is, okay, so you won first place. How much money did you win?
Yeah.
And I go, well, I won $300 worth of board game stuff.
And
they're
I
like,
got
"Oh,
some cool
well, it was
dice."
a wasted trip. Yeah. So they just look at me as if it was a wasted trip. I say it was amazing because of the people I got to meet and shake hands and, you know, and all that. But that's the only reason. If Blood Bowl had money in it, which it's gearing towards that, it would go down very badly, and you'd see even more of the copycat lists, and you'd get arguments at tables and whatnot. So thankfully, we don't have that yet, but I could easily see it happening.
It's come up a few times. You know, a TO would like throw like, "Hey, I want to get a rule set approved by the NAF, and the prizes are all monetary." And it's like, whoa, wait a second. It's not advised at all, man. I think there was a fumble tournament that somebody was promoting this year where it was cash prizes, and that got to be contentious really quick. It's it's a slippery slope.
I mean, it's sad. It's sad because we should be able to play for money and still be who we were before the money. But I think outside of the local betting, I don't think we're at the point where we can do that.
No, I'm not sure if I'd ever want to do that. I mean, we talk about how good our community is, and maybe that's one of the reasons why. You look at Magic the Gathering, look at some of the anything where there's money involved and you don't see a tight-knit community, you just see a bunch of individuals, and they kind of show up and do their thing, but I don't think they're going out for breakfast with each other or going out for dinner afterwards or doing, like these type of things with each other. They're kind of in it to win it. They're in it for their own reasons. So I'd rather be in this community than in that one.
Absolutely. I agree with that because I loved Magic for a long time, and then the money, it just made the community so toxic. People came in to try to win and make money and do it as a career, and it's like, you're not gonna. And it's nice to win a game, and I'll admit that I've been on the end of that competitive. I've been the competitive
spectrum
person once in a while. But
it's a spectrum. You don't have to live there forever. You can just dabble in it for a little bit.
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm going with a list that's just totally fun. Last week I went with or last weekend or whatever I went with a list that was a little more competitive. I think as long as you're able to, balance it, it's okay.
Well, we appreciate Colorado representing on this phone call.
Thanks a lot for having me, man.
Have a good night, TJ.
All right, you guys too. Take care.
You too, man.
Sweet Christmas. There goes Luke Cage.
My man.
I'm glad he's coming down for Chaos Cup because
that's gonna be awesome. Chaos Cup is gonna be.
We're having a great group for Chaos Cup. That is gonna be really cool.
All right, we'll wrap it up for the folks at home. We're getting towards the end here. Let them know what they need to know.
Well, let me just say I tried to get it in 2 times before, but everybody's got a lot to say tonight, which is awesome. But over the last week, the Florida Blood Bowl calendar really blew up. So if there's any TOs out there who want to get an event in this year, reach out and we'll see if we can find a place on the calendar. But for next year already, we have 2 events in January. We have Hookie Bowl with Macho Man, which is a Friday event, and that's going to be at Dogs of War. Joe, why can't I think of Joe's last name? Joe Hoffman is going to be running that. Anthony Guadalupe is going to be running a giant-centric Blood Bowl tournament at BGL at the end of January. Then, as we all heard tonight from John being on the show, we have the Nature Coast Blood Orange Bowl, which is going to be in February. the Safari Bowl team tournament, which is going to be in Savannah at the end of February. March kicks off with Skirmish Con is going to have a Dungeon Bowl Sevens event, and that's going to be in Jacksonville, led by Tombstone Frank. Now we're starting to see some of the other Voodoo states show up on the Florida Blood Bowl calendar. We have a Bloodweiser Booze Fest in Mississippi in March. We have the Splendid Cup, which is going to be in North Carolina. That's actually not a Voodoo, but that's the one from Denny Franks. That's going to be March 18th in North Carolina. March 18th, it is a Voodoo tournament. The Zeech's, man, I can't even pronounce that. Zeech. There you go. Open 2023. Matt Herring is going to be running that in Tennessee. Then an interesting one. This has been rescheduled twice. April kicks off with Doombeer Dave Arvello presents Thankful for Violence. And don't say that the guy doesn't have a heart when he's murdering your players on the pitch, because this is going to be the first free Blood Bowl tournament that we've had in about 2 or 3 years. So you're going to get swag for showing up and playing. There's going to be trophies and, the usual stuff, but it is a free, there's no cover. So you're going to show up at Lincoln's Beard, have some beer, have some tacos, maybe get a tattoo, and have a good day. The end of April, we have Stew for the Crew. This is also one that was postponed once or twice. This is going to be Michael Fortino is going to be running this at Armada Games in Tampa. May, we have the Three Kingdoms Challenge. This is going to be in Orlando, and the rule set's going to be published soon. I have so many people keep asking. This is a 2-coach team event, but we're going to be using very similar rules to what Chaos Cup 2023 is going to be like. Then we have Ben's
Smart.
Cup.
I like it.
Yes, we want to give people an opportunity to kind of sample that rule set a little bit. A very popular one that people have been clamoring for, Kobold Cup 3. Ben's going to be running. We're going to be doing that at 9 States Brewing again, which is, God, one of the best venues.
Yes.
Speaking of best venues, I just want to throw a shout out here to Veterans United in Jacksonville. They actually got voted as the #1 venue for Florida Blood Bowl in 2022. We had a couple of events there. They are so good to us. It's an awesome place to play. You get to drink beer all day. They give us a lot of room. 9 States is just as good. And
I don't know if I remember.
That's going to be published soon. I have so many people keep at room.
I don't know if I remember ever being at Veterans United.
Oh, you were there, Ben. You
were there.
Weren't there.
Yep.
Wow.
No, they are awesome too. They have great beer too. They have amazing beer. They have a whole room that they dedicate to us to allow us to play. So I can't even argue with that. They are a great venue.
Very much I always look forward to going to both of those venues.
I drink too much when I go to those venues, but
that's not a bad thing. You're supporting your local brewery. You're supporting the venue, so that's all right. As long as you got a designated driver. June, we're going to have Knuffles Wild, the return of Knuffles Wild. This is going to be number 4, and this is an interesting one. And I'm just going to say that this format, which isn't exactly set in stone yet, Josh Wojcik is going to be running this. He's still working on it. I can't tell you how many times people have talked, it'd be cool for a tournament is if we start off with street ball and then go into 7s and then go into 11s and we run the same roster. Josh is taking that concept and formatting it and running with it. And I think we're going to see something really special with Knuffles Wild 4. So that's going to be in June. Inconceivable 4, everybody's favorite Princess Bride themed Blood Bowl tournament is going to be back. That will probably be at Vets. We're still waiting for a rule pack and venue confirmation. Then you have the giant pilgrimage out I-10 going out to Pensacola for Quest for the Grail-shaped Trophy 5. Jamie runs that tournament, Jamie Woodard. That's going to be the end of July. August, we have Stunny Slam 4, the one with a giant budget which anything with Andre the Giant and the Macho Man, and you have my attention right away. So Ken Parks is going to be running that one. Then we have World Cup, even though it's not on our calendar. World Cup is going to be in Alicante, Spain in September, and we have quite a few Florida Blood Bowl coaches forming teams and going out there. More on that in a future episode, but I just wanted to mention that is not on our calendar, but it is on everybody's agenda. September, the end of September, we're going back to Crucible. So this is going to be Crucible 11, and we're going to do 1 day of Blood Bowl there. Joe Hoffman is going to be running that. It's going to be a Friday doubleheader. We did some feedback after the last Crucible, which was a jam-packed 6-event Blood Bowl weekend, and the feedback was kind of split. There were a lot of new coaches who were like, well, could we get a tournament that's geared towards us new coaches? Then we had people who were like, well, could we get more room in between events? Well, could we have less events? Well, I think we had a lot of, it was the right number of events for what we're paying for that weekend. So this coming year, it's kind of like a compromise for everybody. There's going to be 2 events. There's going to be one in the morning. Then there's going to be a gap so you can go out, get some food, walk around, relax before a afternoon, evening event. And it's only going to be Friday. So hopefully we'll see what the feedback is after that. And it's also going to be at a different venue. The Crucible crew is moving from where they were last year, which after the hurricane, there were some issues at the hotel and the conference center. I don't know. Hope that wasn't anything bad.
That wasn't me.
That was a reenactment of what happened at the conference center.
So,
But,
Solo,
yeah,
you're still alive
they're
there,
moving.
brother? You good?
He made his dodge roll. He's fine.
good.
So that's at the end of September. October, we have Hookie Bowl, Friday the 13th, which is everybody looks forward to the Friday the 13th Hookie Bowls. It's probably going to be some kind of necro undead themed event, and that's going to be run by Joe Hoffman as well at either Dogs of Wargaming or BGO. And then the one that I'm pushing for and is so excited and happy about is Chaos Cup coming to Florida. That's going to be the first week in November, which puts us out of hurricane season after Halloween Horror Nights and before Thanksgiving. So it's in the perfect spot for a Blood Bowl tournament of that size in Orlando, Florida. That's going to be a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starting November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Yes, it's a World Cup year, but I have a feeling between Florida Blood Bowl coaches showing up and representing, Voodoo coaches from the states in the Deep South showing up and representing, and all of our fans of either Chaos Cup or Florida Blood Bowl coming down to spend some time with us for the weekend. I think we're going to break 100 and have a great weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I know there's probably going to be 1 or 2 tournaments that show up after November 4th that weekend, but so far they're not on our calendar. So like I said, again, if you're a tournament organizer in Florida and you want to have a tournament that you've either done before or something new, then, reach out to me or Jason York and let us know, and we'll work with you to get something on the calendar. And
All
that's
right,
it
I'll
for
start
me.
blocking that day off so we can get some table presence, some stream presence.
Absolutely. That would be awesome.
I think Lone Wolf Jackson brought up a good point. James is running for tournament director of the NAF. I believe that'll be in January.
Yeah, they're going to open up the nominations, and then there's a Q&A, and then there's a couple steps involved for all the election type things. But I've run a lot of Blood Bowl tournaments over several years, and I think it's a position that I think I could do good in, and I'd be able to contribute. And I kind of do a lot of that stuff without the recognition. Anyone who's willing to reach out to me to ask for help, I'm always willing to help.
So I was going to have Blackie call in and talk about some of the things that he did to get started on a tournament. And he jokingly talked to me earlier this week. And he's like, well, I just asked James what to do. And he told me what to do. And the things that I couldn't do, he did for me. And yeah, so I really do think as a tournament director for the NAF, they're getting... If that was what you end up getting, they're going to get their value out of you, because
I don't see a better person for it, man.
Yeah, you're going to end up not just putting the stamp down and saying yes, but also giving back to those tournament organizers and giving them advice and things that they can use in the future. So I
appreciate that.
I think that is a good fit.
Well, the last thing I just want to say, I saw him jump in the chat really quick, is Sam from Siege of Miniatures, who is down in the Cape Coral area, Fort Myers. He did a Kickstarter that Florida Blood Bowl kind of helped him out with, but it just goes to show you how good our community is. TJ, who was on the show tonight, really kind of reached out and was like, hey, let's all get behind him and help him get his Kickstarter, the goal met. And not only did he meet that goal, but he exceeded it. And he also found, I'm pretty sure he found a partner in Tom Anders at Impact Miniatures to help him get that team printed for him for some of the backers. So congratulations to Sam on getting that Kickstarter accomplished, and thank you to all Florida Blood Bowl for helping him out, and thank you to TJ for, even though he's a Colorado coach, he's all over the place and making a great name for himself in the Blood Bowl community. And with more people like him, this is why our community is so great.
Is that Kickstarter still open, right?
While we're closing this out, let me check really quick. I want to say there was a few things left.
I believe it is. I noticed something. He was being very generous with the STLs, but also with the vendor rights. So that was nuts. If you wanted to add those to your online shop or something, that's a steal, in my opinion.
He's got 8 days to go on that campaign.
It was like $30 or something for the STL vendor rights. I don't know.
Yeah, 35 bucks.
So yeah, if you're out there, definitely take a look at that. So that was one of the things that stuck out to me, at least.
Well, here we are at 11 o'clock. Another 2 hours flew by in a blink of an eye.
8 days to go on that Kickstarter.
Yeah, I like the sharks. I was saying to somebody earlier this week, I'm like, nautical is not always my thing, but I like the sharks and some of the stuff there. So I think he did a good job with them, and it's great to see, especially with a Kickstarter like this. It's a sculptor, it's a person who's going to do more of this in the future. So encouraging.
Reminds me of when we were kids. What was that? Street Sharks.
Yeah,
back when we were kids.
I love the turtle with the bucket. The turtle with the bucket's actually my favorite. Where he's the pig that resurrects the guys. But yeah, I love it.
There were a lot of people asking, what could you use that team for? And the obvious one would be, Chaos Renegades. But I've seen some other people throw it out there that you could use them for ogres. You could use them for chaos. You could use them for a lot of different teams. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a cool team. I like it. Like I said, I love seeing people doing projects, no matter what they are, even if it's not something that I'm personally interested in running. I think that the creative energy is just really important to the game, because that's what kept it alive for the years that GW wasn't supporting it. So, hats off to anybody who's contributing to it in an artistic way.
And TJ's using him for Nurgle, and Sam said he's got 3 more sharks coming with alternate poses. So for those of you who backed it, you can expect some more surprises coming your way. But
that's really cool.
Hats off to the community for helping Sam get that accomplished. I'm happy for him.
All right, folks. Well, I wish you all the best of luck at your tournament tomorrow. For all you that are driving in, please drive safe and get home safe. So be like Ben. Have it designated.
I always have a designated driver. I tell you what, because that's the way to go.
Poor Thomas. Yeah. Well, that event tomorrow is at a new game store in Gainesville. That Punk Otter Games.
Tomorrow it's just me solo, so I'll have maybe 2 beers and be done with it. So
yeah, it's probably what I'm going to do too. Just support the game store. They're going to have alcohol at the store, and it's a big store. It's a brand new store in Gaines Vegas. So we want to show up and show them what Florida Blood Bowl is all about, and give them a great turnout, and hopefully they'll run some more events there.
They've got a great community out there in Gainesville. They got a league that has been so strong for so long, and I hope that a lot of them come out. And
there's a lot of new coaches attending.
That's good, because that's the thing, is sometimes it's hard for league coaches to come out to tournaments. They think it's going to be this competitive, sweaty thing, and it usually isn't. It's just going to be something for fun. And
depends on the air conditioning in the building.
Yeah, definitely the air conditioning. Jeez.
All right, well, hey, Carlos, thank you again for the Beans and Dice podcast, for supporting Florida Blood Bowl and helping do this. Ben and Jonathan, thank you so much for participating, and I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow.
Yeah, y'all get some rest. Awesome. We'll catch y'all next one. Folks at home, keep an eye on the Florida Blood Bowl group on Facebook. This is where you're going to find when we post again the next show. We'll have more information. If you want to watch the replays of this show, it's going to be on the Beans and Dice channels, where I'll have it on there. so you can share it with your friends in the Blood Bowl community. That way they can go watch the replay of this. So that wraps us up for tonight. I'm Carlos. We've been joined by Big Benny K, Iron Man John, a.k.a. Solar, and James Luft, a.k.a. Beard Jones. We want to thank you for spending your evening with us, your Friday night. You could have been doing better things, but you spent it with us degenerates. We appreciate it. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.